honor, experience. Those are what a real leader brings to the fight. Pete Hegseth isn't just unqualified to be Secretary of Defense. He's embarrassing, sick, struggles with alcohol, drunk.
Now, I had this chick, and you're right. A lot of people disregard that Biden has a stutter. It's easy to target for fuckwits to attacks. I've been saying this for a while. Trump is more mentally declined than Joe Biden. It's just Trump can speak well because he's media trained and he was a celebrity and he was on TV for a long time. Whereas Joe Biden is the same thing. He's the same guy. He just has a speech impediment. So when his mental faculties decline, it looks worse. Not that it actually is worse, and they are good at propaganda.
And rages in bars and strip clubs. Fired from 2 veterans organizations for financial and personal misconduct. While at Fox, Hegseth paid off a woman after she reported he sexually assaulted her. Pete Hegseth's own mother calls him an abuser of women. These aren't the qualities of a leader.
When your mom is telling people that you are an abuser of women, I feel like maybe that's a bit of a red flag.
They're weaknesses for our enemies to exploit. Pete Hegseth isn't just unqualified. He isn't just unprepared. Pete Hegseth is downright dangerous for our troops. He's a risk America can't take.
Sure. Now, let's see him get just utterly annihilated.
Your second wife, correct? Time you were still...
Okay, this one. Let's start with Tim Kaine.
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
Senator, I was falsely charged, fully investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime? That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked.
You should be afraid of Pete Hegseth.
That you would stand here and say you're completely cleared.
Yeah, look, just because you weren't legally found, guilty of the fact that this is still a thing, he doesn't think about this kind of stuff. You're going to see later he has to be reminded to give a shit about his children, so.
Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you were completely cleared? Senator, how is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth.
True, Comrade Lennon. They're the Epstein party. We know this.
And she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that.
I'd rather just add some ethics into it. That'd be great. Any ethics, any amount of it.
Child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges?
Well, no.
So this continues.
Those first and second wives from any kind.
Not that I'm aware of.
If there were, would you agree to release those confidentiality agreement? Agree to release those first and second wives from any confidentiality agreement?
Senator, it's not something I'm aware of.
As in, I have no intention of releasing the NDA that I have on my ex-2 wives, yeah.
But if there were, you would agree to release them from a confidentiality.
Patty,
Senator, that's not my responsibility.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives?
Senator, absolutely not.
But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct?
You cheated on your wife hard enough to have a baby. Well, actually, my cheating baby is loved by God, so checkmate, literally. My cheating created a baby, so God's actually happy.
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
I don't think it's a hypothetical.
Oops. Didn't mean to open it in that tab, but yeah. No, what just happened? Why is this not playing now? Come on.
Else should be a disqualifying fact.
God damn it. Sorry. Blue Sky is annoying me. These are his tattoos, by the way. Just so you understand, these tattoos are associated with Christian nationalists. They're also associated with some Nazi-esque groups, but it's crusader tattoos. This is the type of tattoo that, Pete Hegseth thinks he is a Templar knight wanting to go onto the Crusades and reclaim Christian land. He's fucking insane.
Disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct?
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
It is not.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
And in this hypothetical, would that not be disqualifying? What a little bitch.
I don't think it's a hypothetical. Violence against spouses occurs every day. And if you as a leader are not capable of
Yep.
saying that physical violence against a spouse should be a disqualifying fact.
It's Nazi shit, but Americans tend to associate it with like Christian nationalism. And honestly, the word Nazi just puts people off at this point. We need to find better words. You were asked to come here and explore the hypothetical, my guy. Yeah, literally, that's his job. That's what he's supposed to be doing here, but no.
For being secretary of the most powerful nation in the world, you're demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment.
Yeah,
Not that I'm aware of.
an astonishing lack of judgment, in fact.
Give this to President Trump or the transition team as they were considering you to be nominated for Secretary of Defense. You didn't reveal the action. You didn't reveal the criminal complaint. You didn't reveal the criminal investigation. You didn't reveal the settlement. You didn't reveal.
They cheated everything. Dylan, didn't Elon just get caught cheating at video games? Like he was paying someone to boost his account while he pretended that he was the best fucking like Diablo 4 player in the world?
The cash payment. Why didn't you inform
Here's the Christian nationalist shit. Oh, oopsie.
chief of the
find it.
transition team of this?
This is the Christian nationalist shit. This is the tattoos that he's fully covered in. Right there. The name of Male Rights USA kind of gave me a red flag, but whatever. You can stay with it.
Very relevant event.
Senator, I've appreciated every part of the process with the transition team. They have been open and honest with me. We've had great conversations between the two of us, and I appreciate the opportunity that President-elect Trump has given me.
You chose not to reveal this, right? Because you knew it would hurt your chances.
The guy works
So
on
you chose
Fox
not
News,
to reveal this
so-
really important thing to the.
Oh, surprise, surprise, the Fox News host withheld important information while talking to somebody, while telling a story, didn't include the parts that makes him and his side look bad? That's shocking.
Commander-in-chief of the transition team because you were worried about your
The transition team was one other person? Back up? Let me see.
event.
Senator, I've appreciated every part of the process with the transition team. They have been open and honest with me. We've had great conversations between the two of us, and I appreciate the opportunity that President-elect Trump has given me.
You chose not to reveal this, right?
I mean, I support male rights too. It's just the name Male Rights USA gives me the same vibe of like, I don't know, all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter. It's just it's a thing that you pick up. I'm not necessarily making a judgment.
You knew it would hurt your chances. So you chose not to reveal this really important thing to the commander-in-chief of the
Speaking
transition team because
Speaking of the alcoholism, let's continue.
you've denied that. But you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be
No, that one we already watched. Sorry.
not anonymous. And I'll they're not anonymous. And I'll just conclude and say this to the chairman. You claim that this was all anonymous. We have seen records
Guys, thank you for
with
all the
names
subs.
attached to
Holy
all
shit.
of these, including the name of your own mother. So don't make this into some anonymous press thing. We have seen multiple names of colleagues consistently throughout your career that have talked about your abusive actions,
Chairman, I
attitudes,
think he's
words,
over
and
his time.
statements
He's way
to women.
over his time.
I now yield.
And
Look, it's not just good that's come out of this, though, because, you can see where their mentality is at on their side. This is from Senator Shealy, or Sheehy.
Pete, I'm actually going to ask you questions because I want to hear
What's
your
his-
answer.
What's his actual name? Yeah,
How many
Sheehy.
genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she/he, so I'm on board.
Oh, yeah, that was so funny that you had to laugh twice, eh? Just making casual transphobia jokes. That's what the right is focusing on at the confirmation hearings.
I'm on board.
Whereas everyone that has any kind of,
Pete, I'm actually
desire
going to ask you questions.
to make positive change is, yeah.
I want to hear your answer. How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she/he.
Piece of shit. Here's Senator Mazie Hirono.
As part of my
Kicking
responsibility
ass.
as a member of this committee to ensure the fitness of all nominees to come before any of the committees on which I sit, I ask the following two initial questions. First, Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
Senator, I was falsely accused in October of 2017. It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared.
I don't think
Allegedly.
completely cleared is accurate, but the fact is that your own lawyer said that you entered into an
They're
NDA
having a hearing for Naomi Klein tomorrow?
and paid a person who accused you of raping her a sum of money to make sure that she did not file a complaint. Moving on. As secretary, you will be in charge of maintaining good order and discipline by enforcing the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. In addition to the sexual assault allegations, and by the way, the answer to my second question should have been yes.
The Democrat former CIA officer grilled him real good. Yeah, like I picked out some of the best clips, but she's just mogging him. It's just, she doesn't have that same punch type of, her rhetoric doesn't feel like it's actually hitting him, but she is mogging him.
I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work, including by people who worked with you at Fox News. Do you know
I feel like being drunk at work is woke, so,
that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to
is
the dozens of men and women at
not
Fox News
contemplated
Channel who I work
it is
with.
woke, isn't it? It's woke to drink on the job. It's also quite telling that he won't even engage with the question.
Women
not
at Fox News
contemplated
Channel
I'm
who
not
I work
hearing,
with
I'm not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record
question.
and said
In
they
your
Oh, he's also a
statement,
sex
Mr.
pest.
Hegseth, you commit to holding leaders accountable at all levels. That includes you, of course. And frankly, as secretary, you will be on the job 24/7. You recently promised someone.
I did, but here's another one.
Drinking and won't drink. if
Definitely
confirmed.
go and
Correct?
follow
absolutely.
Tina
Will
too.
you resign as Secretary of Defense if you drink on the job, which is a 24/7 position?
I've made this commitment on behalf of
Will you
men and women
resign
serving.
as Secretary of Defense?
I've
if
made
you
Oh, I
this
can't
drink
give another shout out for 30 minutes. Oopsie. Go follow Tina too.
on
on the
behalf
job?
of the men and women I'm serving.
He's a piece of
Because
shit.
the most important-
Guys, you have to understand, if they confirm him, and you can just see the downfall of young people who are going to get shipped off to go die in the mountains of Iran somewhere.
deployment
I'm not
of my
hearing an
life.
answer to my question, so I'm going to.
Well,
move
this
on.
asshole sits drunk and watches it.
While you have made that commitment, you will not commit to resigning if you drink on the job. As Secretary of Defense,
Literally,
you will
if he drinks on the job, he won't resign.
swear an oath to the Constitution, and not an oath to any man, woman, or president.
Mountains of
Correct.
Greenland, that too.
Senator, on multiple occasions, including as a young second lieutenant, I have sworn an oath to the
Answer is
Constitution,
yes.
and I'm proud to do so. Yes, ma'am.
In June of 2020, then President Trump directed former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper to shoot protesters in the legs in downtown D.C., an order Secretary Esper refused to comply with. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
So, real quick, well, because Greenland was brought up, a lot of you haven't been in my chat before, so I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but this was Canada's counter offer to becoming the 51st state. And I love it so much that I had to pause whatever we were doing to make sure that you all get to see this.
Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you?
Oops, sorry,
You
a bit
think
loud.
we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California? Oregon? Washington? You've got geography in common with us. And not only that, we've already got a carbon trading system between California and Quebec. We've got some strong alliances on our west coast from British Columbia. There's been a lot
Look,
of academic papers on the
Obviously,
idea.
if this went to a referendum, there's enough people that would vote no that it wouldn't happen. But I still think it's worth trying. I think they should put this up to a vote.
Cascadia. So California Governor Newsom, and Washington State, Jay Inslee, and newly elected Governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek. How about it? Want to put a referendum to your citizens? Because this is what you deal. Have we got a deal for you? This is what you get. Free health care. Universal free health care. No more one-year-olds who suddenly fall off the Medicaid list and their parents are in the news because they're trying to do a GoFundMe so they can get their daughter to a doctor.
Yeah.
Universal free health care. And guess what? Those gun laws that your Congress is...
I think that it's a really good sell. I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but I think it's a good sell.
Senator,
Maybe do a trade, give the Yanks Alberta and take California in exchange. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Now, let's jump to Kristen Gillibrand.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, god damn. I hate that all of these clips have different levels of volume.
Thank you, Mr. Hegseth. I do want to thank you for your service.
You're moving to Canada.
And I want to thank you for your willingness to serve in this capacity.
Thank you, Senator.
I have many concerns about your record, and particularly your public statements, because they are so hurtful to the men and women who are currently serving in the U.S. military, harmful to morale, harmful to good order and discipline. If you are saying that women shouldn't be serving in the military, and I'm going to read you your quotes, because the quotes themselves are terrible. You will have to change how you see women to do this job well. And I don't know if
he is a man that has said that women have no place in the military and the armed forces. He backtracks on this a bit in this exchange, although not really.
If you are capable of that. So I want to press on these issues that my colleague Jean Shaheen brought up because she said it so well. So first of all, you answered your questionnaire. Do you believe that any American who wants to serve in their country in the military and can meet objective standards set by the military should be allowed to serve without limitation? You've said yes to that question. But then in all of these other circumstances, you've denigrated active duty service members. We have hundreds.
By the way, I'm not saying anything because I have nothing to disagree with here on.
Of women who are currently in the infantry. Lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military.
Just off the topic, Lady Badash, Canada does supply the majority of power for the northern states. We also import quite a lot of oil from you guys that we get crude and we refine. So the tariffs aren't happening. Trump already backed down on the Mexico tariffs. This is all a distraction. Trump's not in charge. We have an oligarchy. And yes, he really does have a dropkick face. The right would 100% back up California leaving the U.S., not the people in California, although that would be great if they did. Still, put it up to a vote.
Combat units. So specific to Senator Cotton's question, because Senator Cotton was giving you...
I'm an American. I get to vote, motherfucker.
...layups to differentiate between different types of combat. And specifically... As secretary, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion for female service members, knowing full well you have hundreds of women doing that job right now? And the standards, your 2 mile run, Tom, is about the Army combat fitness test. It is not the requirements to have an MOS 11 Bravo, which is the infantry. These are the requirements today for people serving in...
We're trying to distract from how the price of eggs is not going to go down no matter how hard he mocks Justin Trudeau. The price of eggs is only going to go up. Most people don't understand how food prices work, right? You know, we don't have a deflationary currency. Once the food prices go up, they don't come down. The way that you fix that is you increase wages to match the cost of living increases. Or rather, to not necessarily match them, but to improve them.
Industry, men and women, they are gender neutral and they are very difficult to meet. They have not been reduced in any way. And our combat units, our infantry is lethal. So please explain specifically, because you will be in charge of 3 million personnel. It is a big job. And when you make these public statements, and I get you were not Secretary of Defense then, I get you were on TV, I get you were helping veterans.
Again, why the fuck is a host from Fox News going to be our Secretary of Defense? Why, on what planet does that make any kind of... Well, I mean, in fascist America, that makes sense, I guess. It's just nonsense that's meant to distract, because he makes no decisions either. If we put this guy as the Secretary of Defense, do you think he gets to make a single decision? He's a fucking alcoholic. No, of course he doesn't. He gets to do what everyone on top of him, above him, his masters tell him to do, and then he gets to take credit for what ends up being positive, and he gets thrown under the bus for whatever's negative. That's his job. What does he even know about the military? I mean, he knows some stuff about the military, but he's not qualified, capable, nor is he. He's a clown. He's a fucking clown, and he's there so they can throw him under the bus later. Zach, the world pays for the clown show, and the clown show proceeds, or produces rather. Yeah, both.
Get it was a different job. But most recently, you said this in November of 2024, knowing full well you might have been named as Secretary of Defense. So please
He was a major.
explain these types of statements, because they're brutal and they're mean and they disrespect men and women who are willing to die for this country.
Well, Senator, I appreciate your comments.
Yep,
And I
he
would
did.
point out I have never disparaged women serving in the military.
Yes,
I
you fucking did.
respect every single female service member that has put on the uniform, past and present. My critiques, Senator, recently and in the past, and from personal experience, have been instances where I've seen
women in combat roles. I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women, and they're.
If no one watched Fox News, this wouldn't be happening. Yeah.
standards lowered, and you mentioned 11 Alpha, 11 Bravo, MOS, places in units, and the book that has been referenced multiple times here, The War on Warriors. I spent months talking to active duty service members, men and women, low ranks, high ranks, combat arms and not combat arms. And what each and every one of them told me, and which personal instances have shown me, is that in ways direct, indirect, overt, and subtle, standards have been changed inside infantry training units, ranger school, infantry battalions, to ensure that
Give me one
commanders
example.
meet.
Please give me an example. I get you're making these
Commanders
generalized
meet
statements.
quotas to have a certain number of
That's not a
female
thing.
infantry
That doesn't.
officers.
Wait, there is no quotas. There's no. You have to have certain number of female officers in this battalion. Like, we don't do that. We don't have anything like that.
Or infantry enlisted, and that disparages those women.
Commanders do not have to be quotas for the infantry. Commanders do not have to have a quota for women in the infantry. That does not exist. It does not exist. And your statements are creating the impression that these exist, because they do not. There are not quotas. We want the most lethal force. But I'm telling you, having been here for 15 years, listening to testimony about men and women in combat and the type of operations that were successful in Afghanistan and in Iraq, women were essential for many of those units. When Ranger units went in to find where the terrorists hiding.
The United States Army has a recruitment crisis. They don't have the bodies to apply a quota on top of that. True. Sundry Clown. That's so true that during the War on Terror, we were literally recruiting from the Klan, from neo-Nazi groups, from people who got out of prison and couldn't get jobs otherwise. We were looking for anybody that we can to send over there. We still have less than we want because, the War on Terror ended and then people left and then they came home and all of their benefits were cut. The VA is shit. Most of them are homeless now. So, we have a bit of a recruitment crisis. Why do you think that Oklahoma is trying to pass that new law that makes it so if you graduate high school, you have to be accepted and be able to pay for a university or a trade school, or otherwise you have to join the military to get your high school diploma? Oklahoma is the testing ground for this to see how shit it gets, because if it works out, they're going to make everyone in the country have to deal with this. They want you to have to be in the military because no one wants to be in the military. They're going to start up the draft again, aren't they? No, they're going to go do it through different means, like I just lined out. They're recruiting children. They want young kids to be in the army. They're recruiting through things like Marvel movies. I mean, they've been doing that for a while. Through COD, etc. Yeah, I covered the Oklahoma education stuff a while ago. It's a video on the YouTube channel if you want to go check it out.
in Afghanistan or in Iraq, if they had a woman in the unit, they could go in, talk to the women in a village, say, where are the terrorists hiding? Where are the weapons hiding? And get crucial
absolutely.
information to make sure that we can win that battle. So you cannot denigrate women in general, and your statements do that. We don't want women in the military.
I mean, it's just DEI. It's just calling women DEI.
Especially in combat. What a terrible statement. So please, do not deny that you've made those.
Yeah. Poor people being swept off the street to fight in Iran, fight in Panama, fight in Greenland, fight literally everywhere and anywhere.
Statements you
Wait
have.
until we get into the Arctic.
We take the responsibility of standards very seriously, and we will work with you. I'm equally distressed you would not meet with me before this hearing. We could have covered all of this before you came here, so I could get to the 15 other questions that I want to get to. So women you have denigrated. You have also denigrated members of the LGBTQ community. Did you know that when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in place, we lost so many crucial personnel, over 1,000.
By the way, remember, Trump got rid of trans people in the military last time he was in power, and then Biden brought them back, and Trump's taking them out again. These are people that wanted to join the military. So they're kicking out people who wanted to join the military and trying to draft or force young kids that don't want to be in the military to be in the military.
Mission critical
Mexico
areas.
would fucking mog us, and you don't understand that, right? We have way more tech. We're much more advanced, except Americans are pussies and are not used to dealing with hardship. Do you know how much difficulty the entire country would face over a war with Mexico? Do you know how much shit we import from Mexico? How much food we import from Mexico?
We lost.
The fucking cartels will just come out with their own drones and their own UAVs and their submarines and just annihilate us.
10% of all our foreign language speakers because of a political policy. You said in your statement,
especially
you don't want
if this
politics
moron
in
is
the
in
DOD.
charge.
Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean,
she's fucking killing it. But the good point that she made there, they always say this. Don't make this political. Don't bring politics into it. While literally every single word that comes out of their mouth is fucking politics. It's just don't bring your politics into it. They call it don't ask, don't cartel. Yeah.
You're basically saying women after they have children can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this.
It's like your genitals are going to stop you from pulling the trigger. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to have a massively erect penis to be able to fire this gun, and otherwise the gun just won't work. It's what they did. You know, Lockheed Martin invented this new tech that was installed in all of our guns. You can't fire it without a raging erection.
To be a true statement. So
She
you
should
say
be
it
yeah.
was a political thing. You say it undermined us, social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say
Good.
who they love.
That 30% should be significantly higher political smack. But like on top of this, right?
That someone having to
social engineering, every accusation from these people is a confession. They literally, every confession is a prediction of what they want to do, and every accusation is a confession of what they actually feel like and what they want. But the trans women's boobs are too big to efficiently snipe, I guess. Right, that makes total sense. Trans people should be incentivized to join the military with lifelong access to HRT and gender-affirming care. I think maybe we should just give free healthcare to everybody. I mean, she can go, like, look, you're saying she can go to hell with the rest of the Warhawks when she's telling off the guy who's going to be in charge of the military for being an alcoholic, for lying, for being a bigger Warhawk, for hating women, for just being an overall shitty person. And Bhutan, maybe, I don't know, pay attention to who's the greater issue here, who's, you know, the one doing the bad thing. Not to say that Dems are good. I don't necessarily think most of them are. but she is absolutely the good one in this scenario.
Say, or not publicly say who they love is social engineering. I think having that policy in the first place was highly problematic. And as you said in your statement, do you agree anybody should be able to serve in the military if they meet the standards?
Senator, as the president has stated, I don't disagree with the overturn of Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Great, because I don't want you thinking, can't serve if you're a mom, can't serve if you're LGBTQ, and then last, can't serve if you're a leftist. The statements you said about people who have views differently than you, that we're the enemy, are you saying
Oh,
that
look, it's the enemy from within thing again. Just get ready, guys, because they're piling on all of the pre-justification that they need to not martial law, but use the National Guard. I mean, they're talking about how leftists are setting the fires in California. They're talking about how leftists are starting a revolution and want to kill all of the business owners. Except that's the right that's doing that. But they get scot-free. We get blamed for it. Hell, they'll get arrested and they'll say he was a leftist. It's the same thing that they did last time, where they would have their groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers going and doing violence, and then they would say it was Antifa. Looters and arsonists. Yeah, literally, the real looters are the insurance companies. The real arsonists are the fossil fuel companies. Make them pay for all of the damage. Make the fossil fuel companies have to deal with the fallout. But no, it's the leftists, it's the left, it's the Democrats, it's the communists. Kicking out leftists from the military sounds like first they came for type of vibe. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
50% of the DOD, if they hold liberal views or leftist views or our Democrats, are not welcome in the military? Are you saying that?
Senator, I volunteered to deploy to Afghanistan under Democrat President Barack Obama.
Also, somewhere in this hearing, didn't he say the leftist media somehow betrayed the armed forces, a stab in the back type myth? I'm sure he says some bullshit like that. It's not like, first of all, the last war we were in, there was no leftist media. MSNBC isn't leftist, it's barely lib.
Volunteered to guard the inauguration of Joe Biden, but was denied the opportunity to serve because I was identified as an extremist by my own unit for a Christian tattoo.
You are an extremist! You are! You have a Nazi tattoo! You have a Crusader tattoo. You have several, actually.
Thank you very much.
They never do.
Senator Gillibrand, you held up a document and referred to it during your questioning. Would you like that entered into the record?
It may be one without my marks.
Okay, yeah, okay, we'll delete.
We'll submit a clean copy.
Without objection, that will be admitted at the point of your question. And I would like to enter into the record at this point a letter of support from retired Air Force Colonel Melissa Cunningham.
I volunteered to deploy in Iraq under a Democratic president. Bro is saying this like he had a choice of presidents at the time. What? So he's saying, what he's saying here is that he went to Iraq because he wanted to go to Iraq. Adding the Democratic president in there is just absolute bullshit, because he would have gone to Iraq under a Republican president. He chose not to. He waited. He waited until Obama, because most of the worst parts of the war were kind of in the past. He got to sit in his cozy little Fox News desk and make a bunch of money.
Colonel Cunningham supports Mr. Hegseth and mentions his warrior ethos, combat effectiveness, and
all right, that's enough of you. Let's jump on to
reports peddled by NBC News that run directly contradictory to the dozens of men and women at Fox News Channel who I work with
I'm not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record.
question.
Wait, that was the one we saw. How about, here we go. Someone brought this up earlier.
Senator, I was in the
2020, then President Trump directed former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper to shoot protesters in the legs in downtown D.C., an order Secretary Esper refused to comply with. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
Senator, I was in the Washington, D.C. National Guard unit that was in Lafayette Square during those
Would you
events,
carry
holding
out
a
an
riot
order to
shield on
shoot
behalf of my
protesters
country.
in the legs?
I saw 50
as
Secret Service
directed
agents
to
get injured by
Secretary Esper?
rioters trying to...
Smack, thank you, man.
jump over the fence, set
Again,
the church on fire, and destroy
You know
a
what? That sounds
statue.
to me that you will
Chaos.
comply with such an order.
Yeah. That's him saying, I will absolutely shoot protesters with live ammunition if I get the chance.
Our military
Here's
carry out an order from President Trump to seize Greenland, a territory of our NATO ally Denmark, by force, or would you comply with an order to take over the Panama Canal?
Senator, I will emphasize that President Trump received 77 million votes to be the lawful
We're
commander-in-chief
not
of
talking
this
about
country.
the election. My question is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at
look at him, he's smiling. He's smiling. He knows.
is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate.
Thank you, and I do appreciate that. Just made my first post on Red Note. Based. I'm going to be doing that after stream. So here's a little bit about more hating women. Bro is already mentally writing his, I was just following orders defense. Literally, I mean, he's had that for decades already.
Current DOD policy allows service members and
Have a good day.
eligible
Headless chicken.
dependents to be reimbursed for travel associated.
It's the president's decision, not his. He has to comply. Except, you know, he cannot comply if the decision that the president makes is immoral or unethical or unpopular with the American population, the people, then I would expect the people under the president, the people in his cabinet, to not comply or illegal, true, in a rational society, in a serious country. If someone tried to do that, then you would have them say no. Take, for example, last time when Trump wanted them to shoot the Black Lives Matter protesters, and Mark Milley said no. Or go like, seems kind of dumb, boss. Can we ask the advisors? You guys do understand that, like, Trump has very little power, though, right? This is all planned in advance. It's not like a shadowy cabal or anything. It's just it's the billionaire class. They get to decide what happens. You should start using the military to start a proletariat revolution. Well, I mean, he'll do that for the Christians and then kill everyone else.
With non-covered
Or at least that's what he'd
reproductive
rather do.
health care, including abortions. Will you maintain this common sense
I'd
policy?
rather just not have these
Senator,
people
I've always
in our
been
government.
personally pro-life. I know President Trump has as well, and we will review all
Trump has been pro-life. That's so funny.
policies, but our standard is whatever the president wants on this particular
Okay,
issue.
so
With my advice, I will take a
if the
look at.
president
but
tells you that this
I don't
common
believe
sense
the federal-
policy will
I-
not be maintained, you will not enable our service members to seek reproductive care. So does
Which just continues on with, they hate you. Oh yes, the
on
billionaires
Fox and
must know
Friends,
best.
Mr. Hegseth. If confirmed, you are no longer on Fox and Friends, Mr. Hegseth. If confirmed,
True.
your words, actions, and decisions will have real impacts on national security and our service members' lives. There are close to 3 million personnel in the Department of Defense, $900 billion budget. I hardly think you are prepared to do the job. Thank you, Mr.
Senator,
Chairman.
Thank you. That wasn't a question, Mr. Hegseth. Thank you, Senator Rono. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He's not qualified. He's not. Here's another one. I'm just keeping the best clips. This was a very long hearing, and it was just brain damaging. To the tune of Mothers Know Best from the Tangled, Billionaires Know Best, let me steal your money, fuck the IRS.
Talk
Basically.
about raising or low, that we have a problem of standards in the DOD, and we have to raise standards for the men and women who serve Do you think that the way to raise the minimum standards of the people who serve us is to lower the standards for the Secretary of Defense? That we have someone who has never managed an organization more than 100 people is going to come in and manage this incredibly important organization and do it with a professionalism and has no experience that
Hedrius, I'm saving Ducksworth for last for a reason.
they can tell us that they have actually done that? I have real problems with that. This is not about other issues that are brought up. They're all very important. I'm just about trying to get things done, managing efficiently, and having the best people who have demonstrated that in a large organization. And I'm sorry, but I don't see that in your background. There are a lot of other things you can do very well.
I mean, lib shit, but still. Just a quick little. This is Mark Wayne Mullen having to coach Pete Hegseth at his own hearing on how not to sound horrible.
Mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too. I have changed, but I'm not perfect.
These men's poor wives, I feel so bad for them.
But I found somebody that thought I was perfect. And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why.
Neither do I.
But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure
I would very much like it to be illegal for elected officials to even say shit like that in the halls of government. Like, you can say that stuff when you're not sitting at your desk with cameras on you. You can say that anytime you're not holding a vote, but in the Senate chamber, no, I don't want that.
You've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So before I go down this rabbit hole again, tell me something about your wife that you love.
She's the smartest, most capable, loving, humble, honest person I've ever met. In addition to being incredibly beautiful.
Don't forget about your kids.
I'm supposed to talk about my kids?
No.
Literally.
Well, she's also the mother.
Oh, an amazing mother.
Yes.
Of our blended family.
That was so funny. Political smack, yes, you'd have to be stupid at this point to enroll in the U.S. Army or any branch of the military. At this point, give them about a month or two. You're not going to have too much of a chance. Well, some of you. And none of those things. Maybe she should just run it instead. I unironically would rather have his wife in charge than him, but like, I still don't think she would do a good job. Let's listen to Senator Warren as well. And then we can get down to Tammy Ducksworth, who has the juiciest section.
But I want to be clear here. For 12 years, you were quite open about your views, and your views were consistently the same. Women are inferior soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and guardians. And in case anyone missed the point, and these are your words from 10 weeks ago, women absolutely straight up should not be permitted to serve in combat. And I notice on each of these quotes, those are said without qualification. It's not by how much you can lift or how fast you can run. They don't belong in combat, period. Or your words, straight up.
And they hate women. Like that, it's that simple.
Then, on November 9th, 2024, just 32 days after your last public comment saying that women absolutely should not be in combat, you declared that, quote, some of our greatest warriors are women, and you support having them serve in combat. Now, that is a very, very big about face in a very, very short period of time. So help me understand, Mr. Hegseth, what
Comrade Lennon needs one.
Extraordinary event happened in that 32-day.
He's still going to get confirmed, though. After all of this, I will be shocked if they don't confirm him.
Period that made you change the core values you had expressed for the preceding 12 years.
Senator, again, I very much appreciate you bringing up my comments from 2013 because for me, this issue has always been about standards. And unfortunately, because of some of the people that have been in political power.
Don't feel hopeless. You can't, honestly, at this point, this is the kind of looking like a best case scenario for the left. I mean, this is going to be real fucking bad, right? This is not going to be a good situation, but these are all morons, and they're going to destroy the country. They're going to fail. At the same time, half of MAGA is discovering what their version of socialism is. They're talking about, like, decommodification. They're talking about worker cooperatives. So, you know what? At this point, if they keep fucking up, maybe some of them come over to us. And I still stand by my belief that in our lifetime, we will see a violent revolution in the United States, but it won't start from the left. It won't come from the left. It'll be the right who want to do their violent revolution. And our best chances of, A, not only surviving, but B, making the world a better place after that is to have our rhetoric, the ideas that we share, normalized, justified, to have people in places of power, in media, saying these things regularly, so that when these idiots come out with their militias and they do their violence, then we look like the rational ones. Now, is that 100%? No, but that is my guess as to what will happen. Hegseth got odds to get confirmed, went from 82 to 88 poly market after this hearing. Again, don't use the poly market. You're just giving money to Peter Thiel, who's another ghoul who owns the country. But yeah, I would be shocked if it wouldn't. Thank you for bringing up my comments from 2013. It's the last time you were in government service, son. Seems like a pertinent window into your world. True. Sundry Clown Car, you are absolutely based. MAGA will hate on Elon and voice same concerns. True. We're going to have a look at that actually in a bit.
For the last 4 years, priorities other than standards, lethality, and meritocracy have driven decision-making.
I'm quoting you from the podcast. Women shouldn't be in combat at all. Where is the reference to standards?
That was a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
They should be there if they can carry, if they can run. I don't see that at all, Mr. Hegseth. What I see is that there's a 32-day period in which you suddenly have another description about your views of women in the military. And I just want to know, what changed in the 32 days that the song you sang is not the song you come in here?
I wonder what could have changed in 32 days.
Today to sing.
Senator, the concerns I have and the concerns that many have had, especially in ground combat units, is that in pursuit of certain percentages or quotas, standards have been changed. And that makes the combat more difficult
let me make a
for everybody involved.
This is not true, by the way. There are no, like, we just covered that those quotas that he's talking about are nonsense. They don't exist. Gillibrand called him out on it.
What happened in that 32 days? You got a nomination from President Trump. Now, I've heard of deathbed conversions, but this is the first time I've heard of a nomination conversion. And I hope you understand that many women serving in the military right now might think that if you can convert...
Hey, look, all I'm going to say is every terrorist attack that we've had on United States soil in the last, I don't know, year or two have been predominantly right-wing, ex-military, or active military. So I don't know. I feel like maybe you should pay attention to that. I do know that Pete Hegseth received bomb threats upon his nomination, and those bomb threats were absolutely from the right, because the left doesn't really do that. Like, I mean, it could be. I could be proven wrong. If someone has a citation, great, show me. But most of Trump's picks, when they were all announced at once in the beginning, had bomb threats directed at them. The right was talking about how they're neocons and how they were betrayed. So, I don't know, maybe don't piss off all the women in the military, because bad things might happen. I'm not saying that, like, you know, you should do violence or anything, but I am saying bad things can happen. And just really to finish it off.
A little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations, and how many?
ASEAN, by the way, is it's an economic group of southeastern nations. Here we go. Basically, it is it's trade, right? Yeah, political and economic union of 10 states in Southeast Asia. I was going to say it's not a military alliance, but it is kind of. So That's what ASEAN is. Most Americans don't really hear about it very much. It's much more important when you're on this side of the world. But
nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact
No, you
amount of
couldn't,
nations
because
in
you've
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to do-
allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with
none of those are ASEAN countries. Didn't even do his homework.
Australia, trying to work
Okay.
on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hegseth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of.
Did the U.S. deserve 9/11? What are you trying to Hassan me? Yes. It was blowback for actions that we did prior to that. It's not that, like, the people who died didn't deserve to die, but obviously there was going to be a response to what we were doing there for decades prior.
Negotiations. Listen, Mr. Hegseth, this is.
Elon Musk is an illegal immigrant. Political smack. He's an illegal immigrant who came to this country and bought the government.